Put your cans on. To the right. Right here. Don't say anything. I gotta hype you first. All right, we're back with another episode. Head over to www.johnbartoloshow.com. Go check out a complete list of the sponsors there. We have a whole list for you guys to look at. I want to thank a few of them now. Special shout out to Sig Sauer, Volquartsen, Right On Optics. Head over to Kenzie's Optics for all your optics purchases. Head over to Right On. Go check out these guys. Pulsar thermal imaging technology is coming down in price. Go buy a thermal, guys. Hunt at night. Makes sense. Makes sense to me. I want to thank Secure-It. And I want to thank all the brands that support the show. It's huge. We appreciate the shit out of you guys. And without you, it wouldn't be possible. So please, guys, go support the brands that support the show. It means a lot. Leave reviews. I got a special guest today. He's a longtime friend from the old days. I would say we're definitely over 5 years. I would definitely say we've probably known each other for 10. I think would be a safe assessment. But I got one of the good guys of the industry. He's just a phenomenal human being, and I'm honored to call him a friend. And from time to time, we do check in on each other and talk. We got the one and only Bobby Maximus. What's going on, brother?
Not much. Thanks for having me on.
Oh, the mic. They got to hear you.
Man, I'm terrible with this.
Oh, it's okay.
So much better.
What's new?
Not much. I was going to say, I'm impressed with your promo abilities.
Oh.
Like normal people record that. You just did that seamlessly.
I like to do it live because it reminds me that I need to give a fuck, and I think people that do it recorded, I think are kind of I don't know. I don't feel like I don't get the juice out of that squeeze when people do a recorded reel. I feel like you should be reminded every day of who pays your bills.
Fair enough.
I think that's a good thing. What's new with you? What are you doing in Vegas?
I'm here just visiting some people.
Saying hi.
Saying hi. You know, getting in the mix, doing some fight training again.
Oh, God, I hate that. Fight training. Sounds so, but listen, we digress. Let's go back a little bit. You have been one of my more interesting friends because you live and embody fitness. You've been around fitness for so long, and you've been around being a complete athlete for so long. So a great question for you is why do you do it? Like, I just want to eat macaroni every day.
Yeah.
What makes you do it? Where's the drive come from?
So this is something I've recently started to explore. And it's a question I've grappled with as I've gotten older. But I was bullied fairly heavily when I was young. And bullying can be a wide range of things. Like, I think people complain about getting called names. Listen, it's a hard world out there. You're going to get called names throughout your entire life.
Right.
There's never going to be a shortage of people that don't like you or want to put you down, want to tear you down. If your teeth are crooked, you get made fun of for that. If your teeth are too straight, people are going to make fun at you and take shots.
You're not SWAT enough.
You know what I mean? You can't win. But up until I was about 16 years old, kids punched me in the face on the bus every day, drew on my face with marker, wedgied me. It all culminated for me when 4 hockey bullies beat me up and broke my collarbone.
How old were you?
I was 15. And something in my head kind of snapped. I don't want this shit to happen anymore. So I joined the wrestling team.
Superpowers.
Yeah. Why did I join the wrestling team? Because I couldn't make the football team, couldn't make the basketball team, couldn't make the soccer team. But the wrestling team will take anybody that's willing to get beat up.
That was like our soccer team. If you had a pulse in high school,
like you could just go on it, right? So I started wrestling. My first year, out of about 40 matches, I lost every single one. I was 0-40. My second year, I won 1 out of 40 matches. And that one match was arguably the proudest moment of my young life. Like, I finally won one. And I realized that if I was going to do this, I needed to get stronger. So I limped my way into the high school weight room. I got pinned under a 45-pound barbell. Couldn't do a pull-up. Could barely do a push-up. But there were some older kids there that were old enough that they didn't care to bully me.
Right.
Like, I was off their radar, so they just helped me. So I started working out. And as I started training, I got more confident, and then I started to win. And then I won more than I lost. And then I really started to win. And that's where my life took off. I ended up going to a really high-level university. I ended up on the Olympic ladder for wrestling. I ended up in the UFC. I was a highly decorated police officer in Canada. I've got to do all kinds of incredible things. And it all, for me, comes from...
And an author.
But it all comes from the weight room. So on some level, I look at that as my lifeblood, my water, where my meals come from. Like there's an inherent love of it because it's brought my life so much value. And I would argue with our friendship, if I don't go into the weight room as a 16-year-old kid,
right,
we're probably not friends. I don't know you. So everything in my life has been built off of the gym.
Isn't that crazy though? Sometimes you look at that and you're like when people say like, I don't like social media, they throw like a blanket. I'm like, all the friendships and relationships I've developed, I'm like, are you crazy?
From social media.
Yeah. You can't hate it. You can't hate the game. Let me say, it's too, you're so right though. I mean, it's amazing to think about. It really is crazy. If you don't have that moment, does everything come after?
Yeah.
And would you trade it?
Where would I be if I didn't find the gym? I might be some fat slob sitting on a couch, hating his life, miserable, working for the man or doing whatever. That could be me. Like I was literally 1 minute away from being that person.
And you had an impromptu stop to your fight, career, which was on hiatus for a little bit. And you have the ability still now to harness some of that if you want to and go back to that and look at that or get into some of these grappling events and some of the things that have been going on. It's got to be an exciting time because I think that there's a lot because you're not just a fighter. You're also, a jiu-jitsu competitor, a high-level guy, a high-level athlete, and a name. And you've already built that. And that's something that is rare. There's not a lot of guys that have hit all those notes. I mean, some people come into the UFC, they're unknowns, and they have to go out and you developed it all kind of on your own without much help. That's rare. You learned the importance of marketing yourself, branding yourself, getting yourself out there. That's something people don't understand. Like you don't have the benefit of a giant platform to push you. There's a lot of comfort in that. It's a lot of hard work. A lot of people out there will understand what your journey is, especially people listening. You got to start from scratch and you have to learn hard how to package yourself, how to position yourself, what makes sense for you to talk about and what issues you're passionate about and driving that narrative, because there's no better way. And you have the podcast, which helps with that. Nowadays, I think you have to control your own narrative. If you don't, someone else is gonna.
Yeah, I think what it comes down to for me is authenticity.
Yeah.
I want to show people. People ask what I do.
So rare.
Yeah, I write a book. I fought at one point. I was a cop at one point. I love working out. Really, I want to be my authentic, true self. And I mean really true. Because there's two truths. There's what I show you and who I actually am. I'm trying to show you who I actually am. And the world's in a lot of pain right now. The world sucks. Yeah. There's a lot of bad shit going on that we can't control. And there's a whole generation of people our age that are on that couch working for a corporation that hates them, that doesn't care about them, that will cut them in a second. They're miserable. And I want to lead by example and show these people you can make your own existence. Yeah. You can be happy. And by the way, my dad died when he was 49 years old. Oh. I'm 43. I might only have 6 years left. We have a limited time. You could walk out of the studio right now and get mowed down by a car. So you had better use every minute that you have living the best existence that you can. Yeah,
I said to a friend of mine, it's funny you bring that up. I said to a friend of mine the other day, who he is, I'll tell you offline, but like, he's a money guy. Like it's money's every other word. I said, I'm not interested in money. And he laughs. He goes, what do you mean? He said, you say if it makes money, it makes sense. I say, yeah, of course I do. I say, but I'm interested in time. And you can't buy back time. There's no secret formula to that, but you have to start to manage your time more effectively. And I try to do things with my time in mind. Like if I give someone my time, to me, that's more valuable to me than giving them dollars. And, that's something that's a hard realization to come to, because when you're young, you got a runway, you live forever. You know what I mean? When you get older, you start to say, what's important to me, and time is one of the reasons I built out this podcast, was because time. I was having these great conversations and I wanted to have a place that people could come and talk, and I enjoy the conversation. I think that about me. It's one of those things I genuinely enjoy with people, and I think if you think more with time in mind, you'll operate very differently.
So the Dalai Lama has a quote, and I'm going to paraphrase here, where he says that man spends his entire life trying to make money.
Yeah.
And then takes the last couple of years of his life spending all that money to get that life back, to get the time back, if you will.
It's a great way to put it.
And so that's what we do. And it's almost funny how we retire when we're 65. John, I want to retire when I'm 40 so I can enjoy my life at my
I retired when I started this.
Yeah, my best years, right? Like I want to do something. And I also do this exercise. I've got high-level clients I work with from corporations, high-level athletes, things like that. And I do an exercise with them. What did you really want to be when you grew up? And no one says a financial analyst. No one says, I want to work to be a cog in a machine at a factory. You get all kinds of interesting answers. I wanted to paint watercolors. I wanted to be a poet.
Yeah.
I wanted to have a comic book store. Why aren't we doing what we really love when we have social media?
The connectivity is better now to do it.
We have cameras. You can make your own path, your own business. You can do your own thing.
Yeah, the connectivity is better now to do those things. It's funny because have you been watching the Brady thing?
Yes.
Have you see the last episode?
I did not see the last episode. But.
So he tells a story, he tells a parable. And I won't blow it up for you, but I respond very well to that type of teaching. And in it, he goes through a story of people's obsessions and how to manage. And this is really the good stuff about Brady and about all of us. As you get older, you start to manage things differently than you did as a child. You manage your money differently. You manage your life differently. You manage all these different things differently. He talks about how to manage bad situations, which is something we know through his 23-year career, 22-year career that he's had to deal with. And he talks a lot about like, we'll see. You know what I mean? Like when good and bad comes into your life and people are quick to bestow a judgment, right? Like be like, oh, that's really good for you. And you just got to have the attitude of like, yeah, we'll see. We'll see, and if you notice, you could tell that hits home with him and how he approaches his interviews, how he approaches his interactions with people. You have to have that like, okay, my house roof fell on me. That sucks. Yeah, we'll see how we come out of it. I think we'll be we'll figure it out because you have to. The idea is to keep moving forward. The idea is to keep, whatever your goals are in front of you, keep your perspective. Things are going to happen and some of them might be out of your control that you can't control and you can't get back the time. So you have to just move forward with it. And that's a very difficult barrier for some people to do. And some people get lost in the sauce where they have a setback and they're so quick to be like, hey, I'm out. I don't want to deal with that anymore. I don't want to fight for my dream, which is what you're saying. How do you overcome that? At what points? You and I could probably tell 10 stories of having lint in our pockets and living in the car. I don't think, that happens enough today for people to understand that you can come out of it.
Well, and I think that if you look back at your life, some of the things that you look back on that seemed at the time the worst thing that ever happened to you, they turn out to be the best in the future.
Oh, I've had 100 of those.
And it works in the opposite too. Some of the things that you thought were going to be great at the time turn out to be horrible.
Horrible.
And so the we'll see attitude, there's a saying from Ireland, in the long grass.
Yeah.
Let's see what that's like 5 years from now, 10 years from now, 15 years from now.
Right.
Because it might be the best thing that you ever wanted or you ever had. I want to reference my dad dying again.
Yeah.
There's times that people have asked me, would you change it?
Yeah.
And it's a huge moral dilemma for me. Because in some ways, yes, I would change it because I'd give anything to have 5 minutes with my dad back. The other hand, I'm very aware and cognizant. If my dad doesn't die young, I don't have the fuel to create what I've created, to do what I've done. I'm not the father I am today. I don't have the perspective I have. So would I go back in time and fundamentally change my entire existence by changing that event? And I've settled on the answer is no. Yeah. I'm living a life I love. My dad would be proud of me. I love my family. I love my life. I love the experiences I have, even though at the time it was the worst thing you can imagine for me. It turned out pretty good.
Yeah, you have to find the silver lining, right? Like you have to find that silver lining in the situation, no matter how dark it is or how tough of a moment. And I know there's a lot of people out there, they lose businesses, they lose their livelihood, they lose all these different things that they identify themselves with at that time. In the moment is how I like to say it. But it's okay to gravitate towards, like, I think I'm doing absolutely what I should be doing. I don't think a lot of my friends would argue with that. I like to talk. I talk on a show. It makes sense. I don't think there's a person that would argue with that. I like to debate. I like to talk, have these conversations. But I think, would I throw away the path to which I got here? No. And I don't think anyone else can too. And we've all had our ups and downs. I think there's a lot of people that would maybe choose differently some things they've done in life, but you're going to have 15 more crossroads in front of you, and you can still make good decisions. You know, you can leave on a good decision. You know, you can leave this earth making a good decision. And that's hard for some people to understand, is you have to pick up the pieces no matter where they fall.
Well, and you can always just start over.
Yeah.
Like you could decide to
sometimes that's a good thing.
All your stuff up today and do something completely different tomorrow. I mean, with what's going on in the world in the last 2 years, I think we've seen that. There's some people that have taken the victim mentality and I'm a victim of this, I'm a victim of that. The world's ruined me. There's other people that have figured out how to get their life back, how to get their existence back, how to change gears. It was an excuse. It was a reason. It was the perfect opportunity to reinvent themselves.
We did. I told you this. I mean, we talk. I did 61 shows in 63 days once COVID hit.
Yeah.
Because I was like, people are sitting at home. I'm calling everybody.
Yeah.
I mean, that's harnessing a shitty opportunity. And I had just come off of leaving a job. I was like, what am I going to do? You know, I was scared. Now, you get into training and you start this arc, you know, this arc, and there's a book, and you did a book, and I you know, phenomenal. I have a copy of it. You did a great job, you know, just being one of the fittest people on the planet. It's kind of wild. And you still practice jiu-jitsu and you still do all these things. How do you find the balance to do all those things? That's something I've always wanted to ask you. Where's the balance in all this?
There doesn't need to be a balance. You see, the great myth in life, we've had this force fed down our throats. There's got to be some work-life balance. Can I swear on the show, by the way?
Fuck.
Motherfucker, I love my life. I don't need a damn balance. Like, if you look at my life right now, I've managed, for me, to turn my dream, my hobby, my love into a very well-paying job. So my day, I get to work out. I get to go to jiu-jitsu. I get to box. I get to talk to my friends. I get to hang with my kids. I'm living the dream. Yeah. I don't need a balance from that. I don't need a Saturday, Sunday off. I don't need to go do activities that I don't like. Every single day I wake up excited at what I have the opportunity or privilege to do. So fuck balance. Is that just a
mindset thing? Like I was talking to Pat McNamara about this once. Like, how do you wake up and be happy to go run? You know, it's like, it's one of those things, you know, you have to, and I'm not saying I need the formula. I'm saying, how do you get people to flip the switch? Because that's the difficult thing. There's a lot of people sitting at home right now, and I'm not trying to turn this into head over to Bobby's website and go purchase a training plan. But like, but do that too. But how do you get people in the mindset of flipping the switch? Because COVID obviously has a lot of people sitting around saying, how do I get back in the saddle and do things that are productive every single day? And I think a lot of people struggle with that shit. I know people are struggling with that right now, especially, you know, do I go back out? It's Omicron, you know, it's Transform, whatever they're calling it now, Voltron and
the Megatron
virus. But, you know, how do you what exercise, give people some insight into how you can get them to flip the switch? Because you have 1,000 people that come up to you and say, Bobby, I want to do this. Because Lord knows people say, I want to do jiu-jitsu. And I'm like, don't come, you know, it's a lot of work.
So we've got this idea as a society of the way things should be or the way things ought to be.
Yeah.
Forget what you think you know. Forget what the experts say. We know it's important to move around. So you find something that you enjoy first and foremost and start doing it.
Keeps you moving.
Because most of the people that are listening, they're not professional athletes.
Yeah.
If you're Michael Phelps, you kind of need a pool. You kind of need to swim.
Yeah.
If you're Usain Bolt, you kind of need a track and you need spikes. Mm-hmm. But 99% of us, myself included, I'm just trying to look good naked.
Yeah.
So I can accomplish that. Walking, running, the elliptical trainer, stairs, jiu-jitsu, fucking ping pong. Find something that you like doing and do it. Because I will tell you, if you don't like doing it, you will quit. So don't take on that program with the things that you hate. Do something that you love. You've been to the range a bunch. Mm-hmm. You've been to some of these tactical courses. Can you get a good workout running and gunning?
Sure.
Fuck yeah. You like doing that?
Especially in Miami.
Go do that. That can be your form of exercise or movement. Like, stop complicating shit.
Yeah. Keep it simple. I always tell guys, they used to come up to me and they'd say, you know, I don't know where to begin. I say, start one day a week.
Yeah.
1 day a week is your threshold. Just 1 day a week, go get a good workout.
One's way better than zero.
One's better than zero.
Two's better than one. And that's the other thing people do. It's this whole new year, new you bullshit.
10-year challenge.
So they're going to take on a schedule that they can't possibly maintain. They're going from 0 to 100. Start slow. Just start with 20 minutes a day. Just make it something that you can do. Because at the end of the day, the best diet, the best workout, the best lifestyle is something you can stick to.
I always say too, don't buy home workout equipment. Don't buy it unless you're prepared to use it, because most people, if you're trying to use that as the catalyst to try to propel you to working out, to a schedule, to whatever it is, it's not going to do that. That's the only other piece of advice I added. I'm like, don't let home workout equipment be the catalyst.
Well, what people do is they buy that, they sign up for the app, they buy my book, they do something so they can sleep better at night, so they feel like they're trying.
I did it.
Right? Just because, and I've seen this a lot, especially with cops, just because you own a gun doesn't mean you're automatically going to be good at shooting. Like some of these IPSC guys, what are they putting up? 200,000 rounds a year?
Yeah, at least.
Right? You want to be good with a gun. I'll actually tell you a funny story about a guy named Rick Durstroff. He was my first coach officer, and he was second in the World Police Games for shooting. And I asked him when I was a rookie, how do I get to be good at shooting? He said, take your weapon home and dry fire at the wall 400 times a night. I'm like, how long does that take? He goes, all night. I'm like, well, I don't want to do that. He's like, well, do you want to be good or not? It's that simple.
It's a decision.
So just because you buy the weapon, it's not going to make you good with a gun. Same thing with fitness. Go buy all the equipment you want. You're not all of a sudden magically going to wake up fit.
Now, I have to ask, because you're one step removed, and with your background, it'll be interesting. Being a cop, being a fitness guy, and being in all these different spheres that I know you've been in, what do you think of DUST? Detroit Urban Survival Tactics. I have to get your take on this.
Okay, so
give me your hot take on that.
My first gut reaction.
He's playing us, right?
Yeah, my first gut reaction is this guy's a clown. This is everything that's wrong with self-defense. I just saw a video of him this morning with Snoop Dogg.
Yeah.
And they were like messing around. I think he's a media genius.
Yeah.
I think he probably has a solid skill set.
Yeah.
And he's making TikTok videos for adults.
Yeah.
And he's blowing himself up. So good for him. I would love to sit him down and talk to him.
We tried to get him. We were close.
Yeah.
Tom DeBlast ruined it. Shout out to Tom. I love you, Tom. But he said, we were trying to get him on, and we wanted to get him on. I'll tell the story. We wanted to get him on in the context of him being on the show, but I was going to have like Chad Lyman here, and I was going to have Byron Rodgers. Like I was going to have a couple guys, and I was going to be like, look, if you want to come on and talk about your martial art, I want to put a panel together, and I want to have, some experts on it. And I was going to have like Tony or, Casey Halstead over here, like for demos after. You know what I mean? No big deal, right? And I kind of laid it out to him, and he balked. He stopped answering me. I think I wanted him so bad because this is what everybody said. They said, if he's playing us, all the more we want to do it. Like we're in, but if he doesn't acknowledge that he's playing us, then it's going to be a confrontational meeting. And I don't want, that's not why I did this to everybody. I don't want that. But at the same time, you're right. Like the skill set, there are people out there that say like he's is anybody signing up and really paying for that? I mean, I say no. I have a hard time believing that, Bobby. The point I'm getting to is there is bad instruction out there. There is crappy teachers out there. There's a lot of shitty science. I want to be careful what I use because it's YouTube, and I don't want to get slapped with the COVID thing. But I think that people have to take a look now when they're choosing who they're going to work with. What are some of the warning signs, or what should they be looking at? That's the key.
I'll actually put it a step further. If you, at face value, believe everything you see on the news, TV, or the internet, or your Facebook,
hard to do.
You're a fucking idiot. Like you can't. I always look at where's this message coming from.
Yeah.
So the gun guy, he's going to give me a message. Wow, he's sponsored by all the gun companies. Of course he's going to say that. The pharmaceutical people, well, of course they're going to say that. This is how their bills are paid.
Yeah.
The political people, this is what they're going to say. This is how they get paid. Everything has an angle. And the sooner you realize that, the better off you'll be. So I'm looking at this guy. Wow, he's blown up. He's getting tons of followers. Everybody's talking to him. fuck, he's smart. He knows something I don't.
Yeah.
He's found a way to monetize his image, his career, his likeness. And I can hate on him all I want, but if he's getting paid, good for him.
Do you think he's bullshitting us?
I think so. I think he found a medium.
The ultimate fucking.
It's funny because it is funny.
The ultimate troll job.
It's memeable, if you will. And he's making content, and that's what the world's about. And whatever you want to say about him at a face value level, it's really entertaining. I can't tell you the memes I've seen, the videos I've seen. It's funny as hell. So good for him.
The ones Tom DeBlas puts of him on top of the cage, and it was fucking funny.
Yeah,
it really is. Like he was cornering Khabib, and one. It's like fucking who knew? You know, he had St. Pierre in one of them. It was hilarious.
Like he's managed to make a career off of this, I guess.
There's a guy selling rash guards with the whole the whole persona. When I saw Master Ken, I thought the gig was up, but then he kind of went right back to it. And we were like, huh. But it is interesting. I wanted to ask you because you see these characters pop up on IG or social media, and he's actually bigger on TikTok. It's kind of funny to watch them play out, but so memeable. You almost believe it's the best troll job. It could be to go down as the best troll job ever.
Yeah.
It could very well go down as that.
But if you really believe he's being serious, I think you're part of the problem, right? Like if everything you see, like you watch Keeping Up with the Kardashians and actually think that's a reality show. Like you've got to understand everything that you think is news, reality, it's all produced to some level.
Well, it's like this. What you have in this, I don't have to tell you, what you have in this industry is you have a large population in this industry that gets very caught up, especially in the fitness, self-defense. That's why channels like Kenny KO exist. That's why channels, exist that in the gun industry, there's many of them that are just review type spoof channels, they all exist to kind of create that discord. And there are a lot of people that just aren't looking at it like, okay, that guy's doing him, whatever. And they don't have the ability. They're like, we have to police this or we have to do X. I wanted to get him on to have a real conversation to try to see if he wanted to talk about his art. But it's no different than the Aikido guys or anything. It's kind of getting into the mush. I wasn't going to try to make it confrontational. I was going to offer him, if he wanted to stick to his narrative that it was the proper self-defense, I was going to say, let's go do demo some of them with guys that actually are. Because the flaw I saw in the technique, which is funny, is the scenarios that he was creating, you'd have to be like a mob accountant to be in that position. Yes. You know what I mean? Like, it's like, when am I going to be in a assassination or position, which is, knees on the ground with a shotgun to my head. People don't realize you've been a cop. Most robberies are, liquor store holdup guys, they just want the wallet. They just want the watch. I'm not saying don't understand those methods, those last resort type methods. But we all know in practice and application, you have to be the highest of high-level athletes or have such a sound technique to even implement one of those, because it's a simple trap. And I don't understand why, for the most part, he caused such angst. But I know the marketplace, and it's all big dick energy being pushed.
Well, the other funny thing is people are like, this would never work if a gun was to my head. Listen, if someone puts a gun to your head, you're in a real bad fucking position, number one. And number two, out of 1 million people, how many of those 1 million people do you think have legitimately had a gun at their temple? Mm-hmm. 0.001? Yeah. Like, it's something that frankly would never happen.
It's so funny because at jiu-jitsu, when like Casey would be like, all right, everybody go do tumbles or like fly through the air. I'm like, listen, I ain't doing that shit. Number one, because I get dizzy because I have many years, and I get, vertigo from it. But I get a funny kick out of the idea that, like, I'm like, Casey, if I have to fly through the air and do a tumble, something went very bad. Yeah. Very, very bad. But he's interesting because he's been able to harness the power of social media, and that's why I bring him up. And that's what, people sometimes don't understand. I'm not interested in getting into the battle. I think too many people want to comment, but that's exactly what he wants. There's favor in the discord on social media.
Absolutely.
And it always favors the guy creating the discord.
And if you ignore it, it goes away.
Yeah. No, it's hard. It's hard for people to do. There's too many people that want to be somebody. Everybody's somebody, just ask them. I say it all the time. Everybody's important.
And by the way, let's assume this guy does believe his thing. Most of the people that are commenting know even less than he does. So you can't even listen to them.
The best part is he made it to Snoop's house.
Yeah. I mean, I want to take media classes from him, I guess.
I guess so. I love it. Now, who else do you watch out? I mean, not that you watch him, but who else do you watch out there that you admire? Who are some of the guys that you look at and you say, geez, I like how they're doing it?
I like to look at professional athletes or achievers in a given industry to see what they do. So somebody that I look up to is Kris Jenner. You can say what you want about the Kardashians, about the Jenners. She has built
an empire,
5 or 6 multi-billion-dollar businesses. So if someone said you can sit with a person in a room for a week and learn from them because of my business, Kris Jenner's probably at the top of that list. I look at people like Tom Brady. How is he 44 and performing like he does? What are his habits? What does he do? What does he believe? How does he conduct himself? LeBron James, young guys like John Morant, who's just tearing up the NBA right now. I want to learn from the best people in the industry, what they do, how they do it, why they do it, so I can take a piece of that and bring it to my world.
LeBron is a phenomenal athlete, but he's got a 10-cent head. That's part of the problem with him. And plus, he's an 18-year-old that was given $100 million, and now he's given law enforcement advice.
Okay, but my question is, on that note,
we wouldn't be talking about him if he wasn't good, though,
right?
At some things.
But is that
basketball?
Is that what he actually believes, or is that part of his brand, or is that what he has to say to sell his sneakers, to do his thing? There's a difference between...
It's a good question.
I've come to the conclusion that anything, again, somebody says on TV, what's the angle? And is this what they actually believe? Because there's the John Bartolo at home on a Sunday afternoon, no mics, no headset.
Not exciting.
Nobody listening. And then there's what you have to say, what you have to do on the TV. And so I'm cognizant of that. So I don't like everybody as 100% whole, but I can take parts of their excellence and bring it into my world.
Yeah. All those guys, you can't argue that there are certain aspects of them that they've become subject matter experts. I think what social media has done, it's exacerbated our insight into their thoughts. And that's one of the things that, obviously with Donald Trump caused such angst. Now, with LeBron, I think it's something similar. I think it's a narrative. I think you're right. I think you're onto something. I think that's 100% the case. I want to sell more shoes. I want to do this. I want to do that. So I'm going to have this take, whatever the take is. But I also think you're getting a deeper. These people are very disconnected from reality. When you have tens of millions of dollars and you have the ability to, think about this for a second. When you have that kind of money, you have a driver, you have handlers. Like I said the other day about Hillary Clinton, somebody goes, I never thought of that. I'm like, the woman probably hasn't been alone in a room for 30 years.
Yeah.
Think about that for a second. That's not everybody's life, Bobby.
Well, and that is important that you said that. Because many people that we follow for advice, that we look up to, that we look at for leadership, they can't relate to where we are. They're not us.
They're not there.
I don't blanketly sign off on anybody. I take parts of what they do and leave the rest alone.
Yeah, it's difficult to do sometimes, and you got to really manage your circle. It's like next level circle management to be able to do that. It's a difficult thing. And it's even a higher level of networking understanding, And I had this conversation actually with somebody the other night. I was saying, I said, you have to understand something. He was a very angry person. We're used to being around angry people, so we get it. But he was a very angry person. I said, there is a silver lining. I said, you just have to learn some people are a means to an end.
Yeah. That's it.
It's a difficult thing to understand and implement in your life. But, and for somebody like me who wants to say, hey, fuck him. But, I think you have to compartmentalize a lot of things about people, and you have to understand people are, they're going to almost always let you down if you allow it to happen.
Dave Chappelle was saying something interesting the other day. And it was, we live in a time where you're not allowed to love anybody you don't agree with fully. Is I think what he said. I'm probably paraphrasing.
Yeah.
But I can love you, I can respect you, and not agree with you politically, right? I can despise you, but agree with you politically. So it doesn't have to be all or nothing.
Yeah.
There can be shades, and that's where people have a problem today.
Yeah.
It's if I don't agree with you,
Compartmentalizing.
it means you're my enemy. Well, that's just not true.
Yeah, it's compartmentalizing, and it's putting. See, those of us that are slightly more conservative do a much better job putting people into a box and saying like they're racist over there, I don't want to deal with them, or this one's this, I don't want to deal with it. This doesn't fit into my box. On the left, they're just like whatever. It's like come one, come all, and we'll just be the ship of fools. So I think on our side of the street, we do a better job saying I don't want to be associated with this. I'm not sure what it is. I'm not sure I want to fully know what it is, but I'm going to put it over there. That's a trait of someone that's cautious. And that in definition in and of itself is a conservative approach.
Well, and stuff down here is very polarized. People have a hard time with me because I'm truly down the middle. Like I can believe that you have the right to own a gun. I can also believe in gay marriage and that clean energy is the way forward. What happens in this country is if you're on the right, you got to believe everything.
Well, there's an over politicization of the topics, Bobby. There's an over politicization of everything. Like I think guns have been totally over politicized, and there's reasons for that. Obviously, we see, Democrats don't know the data that's baked into these new gun owners. That's why you haven't heard a lot of gun rhetoric. There's a reason for that. They don't know the data. There's a lot of blue people right now that own guns. So in many ways, this plan that they had kind of backfired on them in some ways because people inherently want to move towards a protective state. I want to feel more capable. I want to be more protected. We've never had more people signing up for jiu-jitsu, more people trying to do privates, more people trying to get involved in combat sports, more people trying to get involved in shooting than we've ever seen before. And I'm a huge, I adopt some unpopular beliefs. I'm a huge proponent of if we're going to have a concealed carry permit and that's the way that it's going to go, then yeah, I'm all for it. And let's have instructors and let's pay the instructors because I want to see the instructors make money because I like that cycle because it keeps the business alive. I like the instructors. I want to see them make money. Am I saying I'm in favor of everybody needs to take an instruction course and we should just throw the Constitution out? No, the Constitution clearly states you can own a gun. It doesn't say necessarily you can own a concealed carry permit. Whether you agree with that or not, that's where we are. And as long as we're where we are, I want the money to stay on our side of the street. That's where I want to keep it. I think people should have access to good training. I think people should have good access to good trainers.
My question is, why would you want to own anything, whether it be a gun, a car, a house, a piece of workout equipment, and not be proficient with it, not know how to take care of it, not know how to use it? Like when I bought my house, I didn't buy it with the intention I was just going to let it fall apart. I had to learn skills, maybe how to plumb, maybe how to do some electricity, maybe how to do some flooring because I want the nicest house that I can get. I'm investing in myself.
Yeah, I agree with you. It's a hard thing to explain to people because some people just want to say, this is my right. And I've spent a lot of time reading the Second Amendment. It's not a very long passage. The right to ownership and the right to free speech, for example, in the First Amendment, these are things that are all being pinched right now out there in society, and they're infringing upon all these different belief systems. We can talk, but we can only talk on the platform that will allow us to have the opinions. We can shoot guns, but only under the auspices of this law or that law. And there's that encroaching, and that all leads to control. Control is the number one thing that people in power are after. I always say, all power corrupts and absolute power corrupts absolutely. And that's the way that I see it. And I see these people in charge, and they're a little bit older than us, Bobby, and they don't want to let go of power. A lot of the 50-somethings and 60-somethings. I mean, look at Nancy Pelosi. She's 100. And they don't want to let it go. They want to hold on to it. And they're controlling the narrative because they want to have the control over everybody out there. And they want to own you, and they want to have a certain degree of I can ask you to do this and you'll do it type of thing. I mean, look at this poor guy in New Jersey with the gym. I mean, It's crazy. It's absolutely crazy. I mean, to make him the focus of your irateness, and we see it going on, and people have no confidence in elections in this country. People have no confidence in leadership in this country, and it shows. And I think it's that generation that literally lives by the mantra of you'll take it from my cold, dead hands.
Yeah.
And it's scary. It's incredibly scary. I mean, Biden's an absolute disaster, regardless of what you think of him. You can't say he's a PR nightmare. I mean, I don't know where they're keeping the sun now.
Well, I don't trust anybody anymore.
I can't.
Like I've resigned to the fact that I'm going to live my life, do the best I can, and these are things that are beyond my control right now because I can't I can't trust what one side tells me. I can't trust what the other side tells me. I don't know where to get my news from. So I just want to focus on myself and be the best person that I can be.
Did you get rid of cable?
I have Hulu.
Okay.
But it's for live sports.
Yeah.
It's about the only thing I watch. I can't tell you the last time I've watched Fox, CNN, NBC. Like, I just don't follow the news cycles anymore.
Yeah. You can't. I don't know if they're going to survive because the news is in a tough spot, Bobby. They have Joe Rogan, who's bigger than everybody. Yep. Okay. And then you have Tucker Carlson and Rachel Maddow, which Rachel Maddow is going to be working on her new deal. So that's like 1, 2, and 3 in media rankings or somewhere in that neighborhood. Someone can correct me in here, but she's higher than you would even think. But what if they walk and they start their own media company? It could cripple Fox. It could cripple MSNBC.
Well, who was the guy at Fox that just left for CNN?
I don't know if it's one of those.
He was a big name,
yeah,
but he left and he went to CNN.
Yeah, somebody can pull up his name. I forget it too. He was always kind of like a snake in the grass in Fox News. But we're going through a change right now, and CNN just lost, I believe, its deal to be broadcast in airports. So now their viewership's going to take an even bigger hit. I don't know how these giant media conglomerates survive. I honestly don't. I don't know how they make money now because I hear about some of the contracts. I'm like, how are they paying these people?
Well, they're also going to have to shift focus because when technology comes into play, the world has to change.
Yeah.
And you don't have to sit. See, there was a day in my life where I remember my parents had to sit down at 5 o'clock and watch the news to get information. Now you swipe right or swipe left on your iPhone or whatever, and you get all the news.
Wallace was the one. One of my guys just told Wallace.
Yep.
Chris Wallace.
You can go, you get all the news. You can go to Instagram. You can go to Facebook. The way news is consumed is changing. The way we get information is changing. And so if a CNN or a Fox or an NBC or whatever want to survive, they're going to have to like play with the new format. And if they refuse to, they'll go away.
Mm-hmm. It's interesting watching media, especially in the social side. I was saying this to somebody the other day. We've kind of... we were the generation that embraced it, but we had a life before social media. We're the last generation of that.
Yeah.
Is that crazy? That's terrifying.
Like my kid has grown up
on social media.
Social media, iPads, like stuff that we never had. And here's the thing.
I remember not having a cell phone.
Yeah. Oh, me too. Like I used to have to call you from a payphone and then meet you somewhere and be on time because I couldn't just text you last minute and say I was going to be late.
Yeah.
But
it's crazy.
My whole point is people are going to have to start embracing this because we can fight the tide all we want, but this is the world that's coming. So either you embrace it and get on board and get good at it, or you go away.
Yeah, it's like everybody who you remember spin classes, right? I'll use a fitness example. Somebody said to me a while back because they have a few of those here, and I saw them all drying up on the East Coast very early on. And now that you have things like the wall and you have Pelotons and everything else, it's bringing a lot of it home and it's digital. So now that whole segment, that whole market segment of spinning and like home aerobics, that whole thing has changed from an instructor perspective because the instructor can live in the TV. Yeah. And now you can teach the masses. You don't have to like have a physical location that just does that. I know a few people that were, hunting heavy in the cycle game in that spinning game. And they were all like, we're going to Peloton. Yep. I mean, we'll make way more money, and I can do it from home, and it'll be a lot easier. So the technology is 100% coming in. Now Elon Musk is coming out with that phone, and I think that's gonna change some things. I think that'll break up some of the Apple and Android stuff because I think Tesla has a great brand recognition, and I think he's gonna push hard into that space. And I think the synchronicity between the phone, the car, and the different things that he's gonna put in people's lives. I mean, he can give internet forever. Yeah. I mean, low-cost internet, low-cost battery power, everything else. And I absolutely agree with you. I think technology is changing so fast. And that generation above us that's overseeing everything, it's their unwillingness to say, this is where it's going. It's to fight it tooth and nail.
I'll tell you something funny. My 13-year-old, he's a smart kid, and he grew up in this world. When he was 9 years old, he goes, "Dad, you need to get a TikTok." I go, "Why do I need a TikTok?" He goes, well, there's all kinds of kids on TikTok. Like, you need a TikTok. And I go, dude, TikTok's for kids. I don't do stuff with kids. He looks me dead in my eye and he goes, "Dad, one day these kids are going to grow up and
be your customers.
To be in their brain for exercise." And I was like, oh, damn.
He's not wrong.
Let's start a TikTok.
Do you know how many times I've had that conversation with companies, Bob?
Yeah.
You know how many times I've had that conversation with companies? They say, TikTok, we're not going to fuck with that. I said, okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Good luck. But where's your customer going to be in 10 years? Where's your customer going to be in 20 years?
Yep.
You don't necessarily know to answer that, but at the same time, you need to be where they are.
Absolutely.
Especially those customers.
Well, look at all the people that laughed at Bitcoin like 20 years ago. I wish I could go back in time and buy some Bitcoin 20 years ago. You can laugh at NFTs. You can laugh at the metaverse. It's all coming whether you want it to or not.
You got to open a gym in the metaverse. That's the key.
I think that would be a fun experiment. I actually have an Oculus. I've been playing with it.
I have one. I have one in here.
You can see the potential of what can be done on there.
Yeah.
And for someone to do it right, I mean, here's the beauty of something like that. I'm one of the best trainers in the world, but not everybody gets access to me. There's going to be a day where everybody can have access to me.
It's crazy.
That's not a horrible thing.
The connectivity is something that is really nice to see. And I think a lot of these platforms offer an interesting connectivity. I've been spending some time on Twitch because I have some friends in here that will do Twitch streams and everything. So I'll go in, I'll see, I'll comment. And I have a Twitch. I just don't stream video games. But we have Twitch, we have Getter, we have everything. We're on every platform. Go check us out on every platform, by the way. Subtle plug. But these platforms offer a different kind of connectivity, and it's getting people to understand, just like your son did to you, that hey, this might not be the today. And you don't have to do them all. I mean, maybe Snapchat's not for you. Like, I never got into that Snapchat thing. It just wasn't for me. But maybe something isn't for you. But you can't throw the baby out with the bathwater and say no to all.
No, because you will be done.
Mm-hmm.
Can you imagine you were one of the people, one of the companies? There's actually a story about this with Elon Musk, where he was trying to turn, there's this thing called the Yellow Pages where you get all your information from in Canada. Like, it's basically like, it was like the old book version of Google.
Yeah.
Right? Like the ads in the back of the phone book. And he had a plan to turn it digital and he got laughed at. Well, where's the Yellow Pages now? It's gone. Like, it's all gone to the internet.
Mm-hmm.
So if you were one of these companies 30 years ago that said, the internet, this is stupid, I'm
Polaroid.
not on board, you're done.
Polaroid, Kodak.
Same thing. Blockbuster laughed at Netflix and said people will never replace us. They'll never stream movies. They'll never. Where are they now? Toysrus really thought people would never order toys online. They could have adapted. They could have competed. They could have got on board and done it better, but they didn't, and then they died.
Yeah, Toys R Us is a big time disappointing one to me because it was such a treat as a kid to have that Toys R Us experience. But I guess now it's on Amazon. That's where people live and breathe.
Can you imagine Toys R Us would have done two things? One, made a more boutique experience. And then two, maybe had a monthly toy in the box program.
Yeah.
Maybe went online. Maybe had toysrus.com. Maybe built a better user experience for people. They could have done it, but they didn't. They just said, well, people will never not come to our store.
They tried super hard to do the online thing in the last gasps. It was like
you can't wait till the last gasp. You have to be ahead of the curve.
It was the last gasps of the company, and they tried to do online. And the problem was people don't understand this. Amazon's a shipping company that carries goods. They tried to be a toy company that sold toys.
Yeah.
You got to be a shipping company first. And if you can't get like, look, this is the deal in the retail space, guys. And this is why I tell guys, to those of you out there, when you talk to me about t-shirt companies and hats and other shit, I tell people all the time, I'm like, you can get into that space, but you're better off having a broker do it for you, whether it's a 9-line or somebody else, because the problem is you're not going to be able to deal with returns and shipping. It's just, you have to have somebody that can handle run point on all that stuff for you. It's too hard today.
Yeah.
It's too hard. I mean, you want to be boxing shirts up in your house. I mean, it's a pain in the ass. It's not something, there's a lot of logistics baked into stuff now, especially with this connectivity, because people want this shirt in 2 days.
Yep.
Otherwise, you're going to get 400 messages as to why they didn't get
and
it.
They expect it. They demand it, in fact.
Because Amazon's created that environment.
Yeah.
And that's because they're just a good shipping company. So, I tell people all the time, the little stuff, the hats, the shirt stuff, you got to outsource that stuff. If you try to go to Joe's print shop down the street and try to ship it, you're going to be buying a $12 hat with $2 in shipping, and it's just not going to be worth it. It's going to be a labor, very labor.
Speaking of Amazon, one thing I want to bring up, you got to be able to adapt too.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know how Amazon started?
It's a book company.
They were a textbook company.
Yeah.
Like, I actually, back in the day, ordered a textbook from them. But then somewhere they said, the There's more money in this, and they're able to shift. Where people get in trouble, and it happens with fitness, it happens with life, where they're too rigid and they refuse to adapt, pivot, change direction. They're just stuck where they are.
I feel like him doing the rockets and everything too is a bridge too far, though. I can't get behind that. I can see Elon doing it, but I don't get the Amazon thing.
I mean, if I had $18 trillion.
What's he looking for in space?
I was looking to have some fun. Yeah, I'm going to go to space. But that to me is a little kid's dream too. Because if I'm 4 years old looking at the stars, man, I want to go see ET. I'm going to build myself a rocket. I mean, I don't know. I can sit here and criticize. But man, if I had $18 trillion in the bank, man, I would probably do some stupid shit.
Do you think we're alone?
No. I think there's aliens for sure. And I think it would be egotistical of us to believe that we are like the center of the universe.
What do they look like?
Nothing else. I mean, I have no idea.
Are they tall?
I mean, here's my concern.
I'm trying to see if you're going to go down the conspiracy wormhole.
No. My concern would be they're not going to be friendly, and we're in a fuckload of trouble if they come to get us.
Yeah, because they can get here. That's the first thing you got to be afraid of.
The fact they can get there, they're so far ahead of us, we're in a lot of
Let's
trouble.
put it this way. I will say this to everybody in the audience, and I'm kind of coy, but I do believe that we're not alone. You can't not help that we're not alone. Here's my thing, guys, and I'll be very clear about my conspiracy theories on this stuff, because I don't want to be caught in that wormhole. I will say this. If it's true and there are spacecrafts that have made it here, we're in trouble, because I've been around a lot of military technology, and I can tell you I haven't seen technology to rival that. So if they have anything remotely close to shield capabilities or the ability to transport people here, we're in deep, deep shit, because we're just not there.
Yeah, we're in trouble.
And let's hope we're in a good steed with them. Let's hope, I don't prescribe, everybody out there, what I was getting at, I don't prescribe to like the Anunnaki tribes, and I know people out there have pulled apart a lot of these theories that they've been here and they've done this and they've done that. I will say the pyramids are a fucking hell of a thing to explain. A thing to explain. But there are explanations, I'm sure. I try to avoid the extraterrestrial ones for a lot of reasons, because I try not to go down that wormhole. Are we capable of doing that? Would we have been capable of doing that at the time that it was done? Some of the pyramids that they're finding even in the Amazon rainforest are fucking crazy. So it's hard to believe that maybe somebody wasn't here before, or maybe there was a different race. Who knows? I kind of cringe getting into that, because I just don't have the data bank to fully understand it, but it's possible.
You need to watch the Ancient Aliens. It'll fill your head with all kinds of ideas.
Ancient Aliens. I'm going to write that down. I haven't tuned into that just yet. But I do think that we cannot be alone in the universe. I don't necessarily believe that. There's tons of planets out there. There's tons of activity out there. I'm sure that they've already picked up on some of it, but it is interesting to think about.
Yeah, and I also think we'd be, again, incredibly egotistical to think we're the center of the universe.
Yeah. The thing is, I'm always curious. I'd see, here's the thing. If they're trying to acclimate us for aliens, right? Like, which is a theory that's out there, I say just start showing pictures of them, because let us get desensitized from what they look like a little bit. That would help. So if you're listening out there, government, send some pictures out into the universe, because we'd kind of like to know what they look like. But I think that would be the hurdle to overcome. As far as like if there was a peaceful alien race that wanted to come here and live, would we let them live here? I don't know. Well,
the question is, would we be peaceful back with them, or would we pick a fight that we can't win?
That's an interesting one.
Right? Like, how would we react? And by the way, the fact that Joe Rogan was saying that he posted about this, that NASA just hired like 24 theologian or religious people to what do you think, NASA likes throwing money away?
Yeah.
Like, they just hired these people because they know something we don't.
Yeah. I mean, what it is, I don't know. Do you think that some of those spacecraft footage is real?
I don't know. Again, it goes back to when you see it on the internet. You can do deep fakes. I have no idea. But I will tell you this. Whatever you believe, the Big Bang, the theory of evolution, you believe that God just woke up one day and wanted to create the earth. My whole thing is, and this is true anywhere in life, if it's happened once, it can happen again.
Yeah.
So we're here. Why couldn't there be people other places?
Will they be fitter than us? If they're traveling through space, they're not going to be as fit, because it's hard to get fit in space, right?
So I'm actually just going to put this out there. The way the world's going right now, that's not a high bar to hit, man. We ain't that fit.
It's true.
I mean, there's some of us.
That's a clip in and of itself.
Yeah, there are some of us, but the fitness of the world as a whole,
It's bad.
like people are talking about comorbidities these days. I walk around, I think every single person on this planet has 3 comorbidities.
Yeah.
The way it looks.
Stan Efferding will probably tell you 6.
Yeah.
Tell you more.
But people are in rough shape. And remember too, it's the availability bias. You and I live in a bubble. We generally hang out with more fit people. We generally hang out with more.
We run with a tough crowd.
people.
I tell everybody this. It's a tough crowd. A lot of alpha.
Do you know what the rest of the world looks like? Any concept of what people's level of fitness are? I don't think a lot of us do.
It's crazy. I have the hiccups. It's crazy. It's crazy. Absolutely crazy. Where do we go from here? How do we pick up the pieces?
I mean, personal responsibility. Because here's the deal. No one's coming to save you. No one's going to look after you. Any of these politicians, right, left, center, I don't give a shit. Nobody really has your best interests at heart. So I say control what you can control. Start looking after your nutrition. Start looking after your fitness. Start sleeping more. Start doing something you love. Build that base, and I promise you, good things will happen. And if every single person in this world just focused on bettering themselves, say 10%, 15%, imagine what this world would become.
Have you tried the OOLER yet?
What's the OOLER?
It's that bed thing that makes your bed cold. Have you tried? Bro, you want to talk about sleeping more? I'm going to give them a plug. So it's a pad you put on your mattress. If anyone out there is looking to spend money and sleep's important to you, it's a pad that goes on your mattress that runs cold water through the pad. So this was one of the products that the UFC tested. Their people had tested, and Bo Sandoval comes to my office. He goes, you have to get this OOLER thing, dude. You have to get this OOLER thing. So I'm like, fine. I end up getting it. I try it. You can set it so your bed's like 50 degrees at 8:30 p.m. and you will go into a cryo coma with this thing for like 4 or 5 hours, 6 hours, however long you like to sleep. I know 8's the desired, but you can set it to run as long as you want. So like I set it to turn off probably like an hour and a half before I get up so my bed starts to warm up, but it sends you into the deepest sleep. You combine that with UGG sheets, you are lights out.
You're set.
You're set. You're golden. Listen, I value 2 things, my feet, since I ruptured my Achilles, and my sleep. So they're 2 things.
Well, and sleep's the key.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't want
the couple hours I get. I try to
science wormholes, but you get 8 hours a night in a completely blacked out environment, you'll lose weight, you'll build muscle, you'll be healthier, you'll be happier, you'll be better at dealing with stress. It is the secret. It's the fountain of youth, literally.
For me, I've struggled finding the steps to kind of decompress before sleep. And I know it's put away the phone and there's a lot of things. I want to see like Tom Brady's checklist, how he shuts down. Like I need to see a deeper checklist because that's a hard thing to do, to turn off the day.
I'm going to put this to you.
Yeah.
That's easy to shut off the phone, turn off the lights. You know where people's main problem is? They don't want to deal with the source of their anxiety, the source of their pain, the source of their depression, because that takes therapy. It takes work. It takes effort. It's way easier to get those glasses that block the blue light and just put those on and hope for the best.
Yeah, I struggle because I try to stow away. Like when I do a show, my brain will race. Like after I leave here, I'll think of questions, things we talked about. I really reflect on it. Plus now we're writing the book, so that stuff comes into play. So there's a lot of reflection on the guests and different things and upcoming stuff and who I'm trying to book, because we book our own guests. We run the whole thing ourselves. So it's a lot, and compartmentalizing that at the end of the day is sometimes a little difficult to do because I got my hand in 15 things, but turning it off is something that I'm highly interested in. I wish somebody would write a book on that, like how to turn it off at the end of the day. It's not, I don't think that anyone has. If you have any suggestions, I'm in.
I also think it comes from really owning the realization, really believing that a John Bartolo on 8 hours sleep a night can do better podcasts, can think better on the fly, can plan better, can make better life decisions, that it's really believing that will benefit you in a positive way. Yeah.
Now, let me ask you, I want to ask you this. Now, coming back to the Brady thing, does that shock you? Is that something that like you're surprised by, his ability at his age and stage of the game?
No, not at all.
Why?
Because we have a bias as society to think of anyone over 30, 35, 40 as old and incapable. That's what we've known our whole lives. And I don't think as a species, we understand the capabilities of the human body or what people can do. Now, the other thing, when you talk about the availability bias, our standard 40-year-old is stress-ridden, in an unhappy marriage, lives off Doritos and soda, doesn't exercise. And we're trying to compare that 40-year-old to Tom Brady or LeBron, who's close to 40.
Right.
We don't understand if you sleep 8 hours a night with the fancy sleep thing, you have a cryo chamber, you have ice baths, you have a sauna, you actually exercise, you eat a diet free of processed food. As a society, we don't understand what an older person is capable of because en masse, nobody's doing it.
Yeah, it's a difficult thing to grasp onto and to understand. You know, people are being fed so much misinformation right now from so many different directions. They're looking for who should I listen to? Where should I get my information from? And when it comes to fitness or it comes to comorbidities or it comes to training or it comes to all these different things, mindset, which is all stuff you coach, you preach constantly. I know when I'm on the phone with you as a friend, you're like, you got to try this. You got to look at that. You got to eat that, drink more water. And you're right. It's getting the ability to say, I'm going to make this change in my life. That's difficult. And it's not a physical one so much as it is a mental one. And it's going over that barrier. That's why I feel like I'm seeing such a rise in mental coaching. You see Brady, the mental coaching that's gone into that. You see, the mental coaching that goes into some of these athletes that I'm around, the high level athletes like Valentina. You could see as a champion how she's mentally conditioned. She just has tunnel vision on, just sees her world, what she's trying to do, the goals she's trying to accomplish, and she blocks out a lot of the noise. And that's a lot of times how they talk about how the Patriots functioned, how Brady functions. It's that blocking out and saying, we're on to this. We're just going to move on to the next thing, whatever it is. And that's your process. The press doesn't like that because they're not allowed to look back and ask the questions and reflect. And I think, like Brady says, I think there's a time for reflection. It's like when I tell people at the show, come on when you want to reflect a little bit. You want to talk about some of the things you've done and gone through. And I think that's a difficult thing for everyone to do. And maybe some people aren't equipped to do it. Maybe.
One of my things with Brady, though, is Brady treats his profession. He is a professional, is how I want to word that.
Yeah.
The effort you put into all this podcasting stuff, he puts that and more into his body. Yeah. You see, we grew up with a generation of athletes that were gambling, smoking, drinking. They never got to achieve their potential because they didn't take care of themselves.
Yeah.
We're starting to get models of people like LeBron, who's having a great season right now, Brady, who's having a great season, that have always taken care of themselves. Mm-hmm. And now that they're providing the roadmap or actually just breaking the barrier that this is possible, this is going to be the new way of athletics, longevity.
I would say at a high level, like I think about this in context of Brady and Edelman and certain guys that we've seen. Some people, no matter how well you take care of your body, can only do it at that pinnacle level for a period of time. It takes a special person to be able to tap into their best. Now, it works for Brady because being a quarterback, they're a highly protected position in the NFL. He's still taking the bangs and bumps. Don't get me wrong. Everybody knows I'm a big Brady fan. But at the same time, he's in that right place where he can endure a lot of that stuff. He's still going through the grind. But if you watch even on that special, he starts saying like, I don't want to do voluntary stuff. I don't want to do that stuff. So he's built into his process these freedoms because he feels like, I've earned the right to have that. And you have to have some level of an understanding that even if you do everything right, the ball still may not fall your way no matter what. You have to have that perfect circumstances, that perfect setup.
But even besides Brady, we're seeing other people. Look at Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah.
Aaron Rodgers is 37, turning 38. The man is having
a freak,
arguably an MVP season.
Yeah, he's a freak.
That would not have happened 10 years ago.
Yeah.
And so the more these athletes realize that they can take care of themselves, that they can treat it like a profession and not just a game anymore, you're going to see older and older people perform well. I mean, I think I'm better at 43 than I was when I was 30.
Yeah.
But it's because I've learned to put more effort into it.
I think that's the key. I think a lot of people don't understand, like even this show, like we've just, because of the time that we've put in, many people even in this chat will say, this is undersubscribed, or people aren't, we need to get more people here. We need to have more support for the show. But the reality is it's just a grind. It doesn't matter what it is. You have to put the time in. I mean, we're closing in on 500 episodes. I think we're 400 and, Eric could correct me. I think we're 427 episodes in, or Daryl could correct me. I think we're somewhere around there, and we're just starting to get a little bit of traction where we want to be. It just takes time, no matter what you're doing. I mean, if you read Tipping Point, they talk about, it taken 10 years, or in understanding the time that you have to put in to be considered what we would call in society an expert.
Yeah.
And that's a hard thing to do. And people don't want to put that time in. They don't want to understand that grind.
Well, they think people at home think they're going to get a free Zoom account. They're going to open up their laptop and all of a sudden they're going to be a podcaster.
Oh,
like what I would say to people at home, and you might not see the setup that I'm seeing, but I'm seeing 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 cameras. I'm seeing screens. I'm seeing craftsmanship. I'm seeing lighting. You want to do it, you got to put effort in. And that's the same as professional athletics. Like, you want to be fit, great. But you got to work at it 24/7, 365. It's not a 20-minute a day solution.
And I love the people that come into it and they say, well, he or she only did that because, or they only did that because of this or because of that. And that's the closed-mindedness that exists in a lot of these communities, including, and we've seen it in fitness, with guys not winning Olympia or not having any level of sponsor or anything else. They want to just complain.
Well, and when I was talking to you earlier about looking at people who are successful and taking a piece of them, I may not listen to everything Joe Rogan says. I may not believe everything he believes. I may not subscribe to everything he tries to sell me. But when it comes to the podcast game, he is the alpha dog. I'm going to look at what he did and I'm going to work
him backwards. And Corolla, they're the goats.
Yep, I'm going to work backwards, right? Because he's set the roadmap for that.
Yeah.
So he's got his own studio. Maybe I need my own studio. He used this platform. Maybe I should use that platform. You can learn from the man in that regard.
Yeah, maybe you can take pieces from it. Like, I'll give you a good example. You're wearing a Phorm shirt. I'm not the biggest Andy Frisella, because he's a rah-rah guy. When I played sports and everything, I didn't, on the field you had those coaches. I didn't respond to that very well. It doesn't mean I don't love Andy and love what he's built. I love what Andy Frisella and Phorm have built. They're a great brand, and Andy and Sal and everybody over there have tons of friends over there. Does that mean I tune into his podcast every week? No, I've never responded well to people screaming that level of coaching. It just wasn't my brand. It doesn't mean I don't love them, and it doesn't mean I can't take certain takeaways from what they do, because I think they do a lot right. They do more right than they do wrong.
Well, and learning from somebody that's built, arguably the best, the preeminent, the supplement company in the world.
Probably how supplements will be sold going forward.
Absolutely. So I want to sit Andy down and pick his brain about this business stuff. And by the way, I would consider Phorm, as much as they are experts in the supplement world, they are also another company that are experts in the media world. Because the way they use social media, the way they built a community. If I was a business, maybe like UPS, that had a rotting from the inside corporate culture, I would be calling the guys at Phorm to say, come fix this. You guys have one of the best corporate cultures on the planet. Can you help me?
Yeah.
Right? So look at who's doing it right and learn from them. My dad always said the smartest person in the room was the person who was smart enough to ask for help.
I love what you said, though, about reverse engineering people. I think that's huge. I think reverse engineering their successes and picking it apart. I think if I was to leave everybody with one lesson from this show, the good takeaway is don't be afraid to look at people you maybe admire. Maybe you hate them. Maybe, whatever. But if you see success in them or something that you'd like to achieve, look at what they're doing in reverse engineering. And maybe it's not for you. Maybe you can't do it. Okay. Maybe you can't. Maybe you don't have the skill set. Look at somebody that maybe has similar skills.
Yeah.
And fine, you might be saying at home, I'm shy or I can't do this. Well, then maybe you can produce. Maybe you could do something else. Maybe there's something you can be involved with in what you love, but you have to be willing to find the angle and you have to be willing to put the time in and understand that a lot of the things and ventures, we're talking about the metaverse, talking about NFTs, a lot of these different things, it might take time for you to become a subject matter expert in those things, whatever they are, but embrace the time and own the struggle.
Well, and I want to say this about a guy I have a lot of respect for, Dana White. I fought in the UFC in the early 2000s. I knew Dana when he was a much younger man.
Different person.
I've watched his career. I've watched the steps he's taken. I don't give a shit whether you agree with him politically. I don't give a shit whether you like that he curses or doesn't curse.
Yeah.
I don't give a shit what you think about his morality, his religion, his favorite football team. None of that really matters. The reality is he has built one of the biggest, most successful media corporations on the planet. I want to learn from that.
Of course.
I want to take a piece of that. I want to sit Dana down and
it's amazing to see.
What do I do? How can you help me? And I don't, again, what Dave Chappelle said, I don't have to agree with him on every single thing. And I don't have to have him to my fucking house for dinner.
Yeah.
I just want to learn how he did what he did and take a lesson from that.
I purposely took some gun companies through the UFC for a reason. I wanted them to see the scale of the production.
Yeah.
And I wanted them to understand when you talk to me about we're having 100 ambassadors at this event or we're doing this, what the UFC does and how Dana's brain works, because there's a huge disconnect in our industry into what media is. And I've said it to companies, part of the reason why I built the studio. I have companies walk in here, I'm like, I have a better studio than you have. And you're a multi-million-dollar company. How are you ever going to take media seriously? You could never hire me into one of those brands if they weren't going to take media at least this seriously. Yeah. And how many places have you been in that don't even take it one camera? One camera seriously.
I've been in some big companies, multi-million-dollar companies that don't even have a social media department.
Yeah.
Like, what are you guys doing?
Yeah.
And so that's where I want to look again. Just look at who did it and try to reverse
take your ego out of it. Yeah.
You can. But I'm also not too proud. I mean, the thing that I believe has helped me more than anything else in the world.
You're a great question asker.
Is I want to ask questions. I want to learn. And I don't have an ego when it comes to that. I want to be around the best in the world and learn what they do. And frankly, get their help. I'm not too proud to ask for help.
You've always been good about that through all the years. You ask the right questions. I've always thought that about you. And you have that approach of like, let me ask the questions. Let me just see. And that's rare in and of itself, Bob. It's so rare because too many people are quick to be like, oh, fuck him or fuck this one. I always just prescribe to the theory of do two things for somebody before you ask for one. They'll show you their ass.
Yeah.
They'll show you their ass. Do two things for them, whether they're small things or big things, whatever. It doesn't have to be, guys, it can be a ride, like let me give this person a ride. But if you come back and you ask for something after two things, you say, hey, can you help me with this? Or, geez, don't use moving as an example. Everybody runs from moving. Yeah. Nobody likes helping anyone with moving. Just hire a mover. I think that's fair. What are you going to say about it? You want to say something? You got to put volume on. You what? It's true. You want to fucking moving. Go hire a moving company. But I think you can bring people into your life that can add tremendous value, not just money. It's not monetary. Maybe it's just listening to a conversation. But if you've done two things for somebody and you pick up the phone and you say, hey man, can we just talk for a minute? Or can I just tell you this? If they're brushing you off or you're getting the dust off, then they're not your people. It's that simple. They're not your people.
There's another rule. There's a guy, Omari Hardwick. He's an actor. He's in the Power series. Absolutely love the guy. Used to play football for Georgia. Really into working out. He's an expert.
National champ?
He's a good dude. Anyway, he said a line once in the Power series that God gave you two ears and one mouth in that proportion for a reason. Use them like that. And I'm like, damn. Like sometimes you just got to sit back and listen to the smart guys talk.
Sometimes it's what people don't tell you.
Yeah.
And that's the hard thing. Sometimes it's what people don't tell you. And it's crazy being in here, the people I sit with, before you walked in, I had a guy who's running for Senate walk in. I just, it's crazy. You sit with these people and you have these conversations and you try to pull from it. Like you said, I think the yield of the conversation is what's critical. So, the takeaway here is just don't be afraid to ask the questions. Don't be afraid to be inquisitive. Don't be afraid to look at somebody that maybe your first reaction is, I want to put them down, or I want to say X, Y, or Z. Why don't you start with a question instead of starting with, an insult or something like that, and start to understand them a little bit. You don't know the road they've traveled on. You don't know the journey they've taken.
Yeah. Too judgmental.
And
crazy. You may be judgmental of a person that could have changed your life. Could have helped you. Could have given you that thing that you really needed. And the other thing is, I want to say we're a lot more alike than we are different. You could take a person that you think you're the polar opposite of, and if you really just bared your soul and got to know them, chances are you're 99% identical.
Amazing. Well, listen, we digress. It's been, what are we at, over an hour, right? Jesus. Where does the time go? We got to wrap up. Let everybody know where they can find you, how they can reach you, and how they can get in touch, Bob.
Yeah, so there's two basic ways. If you go on the internet, you go on Instagram, you go on Facebook, and you just type in Bobby Maximus, you will find me. The second, which I don't recommend because you're not going to like the result, is go in your bathroom at midnight, turn the lights off, look in the mirror, and say Bobby Maximus 5 times.
Fucking candy, man.
Yeah, but don't do that.
5 times, though.
You're not going to like what happens.
If anybody out there gets up to 4, let me know, because I'm scared. Let me know what happens. I don't want you to appear before me.
Don't try it, seriously. Bad things have been known to happen to good people.
Head over to the website, get some training, get some help. Guys, if you need someone to talk to or you just need someone to kind of help you get started, go check out all Bobby's links. Go check out everything. I know Eric shared them. Shout out to Eric for the super chat, and Daryl. Appreciate the super chats, guys. If they're questions, I'll do my best to ask them, especially if they're guest related. I appreciate you guys. Go check out all the different stuff. Bobby's got books. Bobby's got everything. He's everywhere. Go check out his websites. Support this guy. He's a great guy, and he's a phenomenal supporter of the show. And behind the scenes, he always takes my calls. Always. And it's a pleasure to talk to him and have him in today. And I thank you for taking the time and coming in.
I just wanted to say to you, it's an honor, and I'm humbled to be on the show. I come from a town of 1,800 people way up north, and it never ceases to amaze me and just make me feel good, frankly, that other people want to take the time to talk to me or have me on their platform.
Oh, I love having you.
Even just give me a bit of attention. And so know that I am grateful for that.
No, I appreciate it. I appreciate you. I've always appreciated your friendship. And I remember the people that I had conversations when it's like me in the car. Yeah. I will never forget that stuff. It's important to me. And I think you've had an impression on me, and I've learned from you quite a few lessons, and I appreciate you for that and being a friend. And this is a guy I go way back with. He's been in all these communities, guys. Slide into his DM, be appropriate, ask any questions. He's a great responder, and get yourself in shape. Go check it out, and I'm looking forward to what the future holds with you. You want to give anyone a teaser?
You're going to see some big things coming this year. You might see Bobby Maximus return
2.0
to the fight arena. You might see a movie. You might see some TV. There's some big things on the horizon.
I'm excited to see it. I'm always excited to see what you're working on. I appreciate everybody. I want to thank the sponsors. Head over to the website, johnbartoloshow.com. Go check out a complete list of sponsors. I want to thank a few of them now. Rhino Metals, Full Quartzen, Firearms, Right On Optics, Kenzie's Optics. Guys, go check out all these different brands. Special shout out to Sig Sauer and Secure It. Go check out those 2 brands. Guys, appreciate all the brands. Can't do it without them. Guys, like and subscribe. Go check out some past episodes, please. It helps a ton. Go tap thumbs up on a few shows and go leave some comments. I appreciate everyone that stopped in the chat and everyone that came to say hi to Bobby. Go check out all his links. We're going to be pushing his show out. Thank you, Eric, for sharing everything. We're out.